The Banking Scene Director's Cut goes behind the scenes, sharing stories and insights to help you build the bank of tomorrow.
Rick,
Hey, Andrew.
I have an observation to make about
An observation?
an observation about your article this week about what ClearBank's MiCAR move really tells us. And that is, I just want to highlight how quickly we've moved in terms of talking about stable coins and crypto as sort of something on the side and being a bit not part of the banking system to within the last 12 months.
Yeah.
Within the last 12 months, suddenly this is a core part of our discussions at our conference and in the industry. That's telling me something.
Things are rapidly evolving. That is absolutely true. And it's not just in that domain, it's in so many other domains as well. I don't want to make the conversation about AI again, but I remember a roundtable we had like 11 months ago talking about agents, people being skeptical about whether that holds a future. Today they're all building it. You see the same or similar thing with stable coins. And you also start to see like still some stories where plays against them. I read an email this morning from Simon Taylor, his weekly blog, explaining the theft of around 300 million that was being scammed through stablecoin and being stolen through stablecoin business because Circle was applying traditional compliance rules, as a regulator expects, for decentralized finance, and those things don't map. So I mean, it's going to be interesting. A lot more regulation, a lot more things moving into production, but also with potential risks. But again, that is not part of this conversation. We are here to talk about the news that ClearBank has a new license. And I was specifically excited about this because we've been following ClearBank from very, very close by for many years. In March, we had our third CEO from the company joining our conference. And that's, I think pretty remarkable for a small company in Belgium to have three CEOs from one bank, these days a continental bank, come and explain what they're doing, how they're building, and how they are making a difference. And with that license, they will be making much more of a difference than they were already doing today.
And just so soon after that announcement and securing that license that we had the pleasure of having Tristan on the panel, on the fireside chat that you had with
Well,
him.
I think it was the other way around. The license was announced last week, and the panel was a few weeks before.
Sorry, my timeline's getting messed up here with everything.
Must
that's
be the workload.
It's got to be. So stablecoins reshaping cross-border payments. One of the big things that seems to be a very strong point for Tristan is removing complexities. Come from Uber, where Uber has certainly removed complexity and has paved the way in so many different things. We now even almost use it as a verb to describe the most seamless way of doing things. For years, people would say we strive to be as seamless as Uber, just one tap and you've booked your taxi and you've paid and everything like that. And I think that that's something that Tristan's trying to bring to ClearBank in terms of removing all that background complexity. Right? I mean,
I think listening to the customer and hearing what they need, maybe even more than just making payments as invisible as possible, which was another discussion that we often have. And these days, organizations start asking more friction instead of less sometimes. I think that may also be the case in corporate world, which is the main business of ClearBank. But I definitely agree that the experience of payments in Uber is definitely a very good example. And he hasn't only worked at Uber, it was only a couple of years. He also worked at big banks, etc. So he clearly has like 25 years of experience that you may expect from a C-level at a big bank like ClearBank. And ClearBank is still today mostly a payments bank than anything else. I remember started as a clearing bank in the UK, then they moved for expansion, That's why we had Charles McManus, I believe, joining us in Brussels to talk about trends in payments a couple of years ago. 1 or 2 years later, and then we had Rinse Zijlstra, the first CEO of the Netherlands, who was supporting the organization to get their banking license for continental Europe. And once that was done, he moved on to do something else. And now we have Tristan Kirchner, who is there and will help build the company across continental Europe. They are currently working hard, I believe, for a new headquarters in France. They have this new CASP license, a crypto asset service provider license, which will provide much more opportunities, definitely in the partnership with Circle. And you know from your talks with Zodia Custody what such a license means in terms of credibility, etc.
Yeah, I mean, that came out very clear in the Zodia Custody conversation that achieving that certification level brings more maturity to the whole environment, because there is very strong regulation about what you can and can't do and how it can be done. And they were all for more service providers achieving that level of certification, because they said it brings much more credibility to the whole environment, which is still a little bit tainted with its old Wild West days of crypto kind of a thing. There is still some of that there. But Tristan's fireside chat with you, he did say that their big focus came down to one area, and that was cross-border payments, where there's been a lot of inefficiencies.
That's what you hear regularly when it comes to stablecoins. A lot of conversations are from the US, but I think it's very hard to benchmark that for Europe, where we have most of our day-to-day transactions are in Europe. We don't have too much complexity in our payments, etc., unless you start converting your money. And that's where it potentially becomes expensive, except if you have a Wise account or anything else. But definitely on a corporate level, I think the stable coins definitely have a solid business case for most of the corporates if they want to save some money. Because yeah, it's a very complex network. You have to work with Swift. Swift as such, I don't think they're so expensive, but you have to build on that network of intermediaries, and each intermediary wants part of the pie. If you can work with a stablecoin, it's just a bilateral transaction instead of having, 3, 4, 5 intermediaries in between. And that makes it much cheaper, but also much more transparent. I think you can compare it with the on-us transactions of a global institution that clears across the globe without having to move their money outside. And unfortunately, today, if a city wants to transfer money from, for example, the United States to Singapore, I think they still can't do it in their own infrastructure. It still needs to pass a central bank, etc. And that's where things get more expensive. Those are the points that you can avoid by working with stablecoins, which comes with their own complexities as well. And that was also part of the blog from Simon Taylor. You have all these new DeFi rails. Unfortunately, regulators, they don't always grasp the complexity that come with it. So they expect compliance regulations in line with traditional finance. Traditional finance is being stuck to work hours, work days, etc. Or DeFi is 24/7 every single day, also when people are not working, etc. So I think there's still some work to be done to make sure that we can close those AML gaps in the process of dealing with stablecoins in a cross-border business. Seeing so many use cases today, both from new, more progressive banks as well as more traditional banks, I think we will see a rapid evolution to make sure that also there some of the gaps can be filled. And at the end, we may not, it's not that traditional finance is so clean in terms of AML, etc. So yeah, it's an interesting space.
The AML side was something that Zodia Custody have really got nailed and are very stringent around. Because they deal with institutional clients and they're talking about holding deposits of crypto assets, tokenized assets, they first do their KYC on the business, so KYB, as well as on each individual that interacts with that that deposit. And then when something has to get moved, they require a minimum of 2 signatories for every single transaction as well. So in the institutional
But also
environment,
there you start to feel that thing you're not 100% right, that you have these proof points, signatures, etc. They clearly prevent you from taking advantage of the key USPs of stablecoin, etc., which is the instant 24/7 business and transactions rolling in and out.
we mustn't confuse the fact that Zodiac Custody is a custody provider.
Yeah.
They're basically a vault for digital assets and tokenized assets. You wouldn't use Zodiac Custody to do day-to-day payments or,
No, but if
would
you need the
do
money
large
and you need
transactions.
it instantly, it's going to be
Yeah.
tough. That's what I mean.
I'm curious, Rick, do you hold any Euro coins at the moment? What is
Euro.
Yeah,
I
because
hold euros,
you've
but
got
no
Euro
stable coins.
C in your blog. You mention specifically Euro C and USDC.
Yes.
Where do you get Eurocoin from? I mean, we're not talking about a CBDC here, are we?
No, it's a
It's you've
stable
got-
coin.
It's a stable
Currency
coin that's
stable
pegged
coin.
to
Yeah.
the euro. Yes, yeah. How if I turned around to you and I gave you a invoice and I said, Rick, I want to be paid in euro coins instead, how would you be able to do that today?
I would probably send the invoice back. I have no idea. But I do know that, for example, Circle is offering it. And it's in that context that I shared it. And I do expect maybe more to be there soon. Also in the euro area, you start to see more initiatives dealing with European stablecoin as an alternative for the USDC. But I don't hold them myself. And I haven't done the research to investigate how I could potentially pay you in euro coins.
I was just curious about the Eurocoin and stablecoin environment because I've seen USDC obviously frequently, but I'd never seen EuroC written like that as a euro stablecoin.
It's
I'm
a thing.
assuming it
Yeah.
exists. I just don't have any. Maybe I should look into that for my next
Do you have
invoice.
dollar stable coins?
I don't have any stablecoin.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
I don't, because to me, again, holding a stable coin that's pegged to a fiat currency,
Doesn't make much sense. Huh?
no, it doesn't. I can see the benefit of using the
For
stable coin
exchange. Yeah.
for a transaction. Yes,
Yeah.
for a transaction.
Yeah.
But for the average consumer, I don't see that there's any benefit in holding a stable
really.
coin over fiat currency,
No, I agree.
particularly at the moment with the deposit guarantees and things like that that are provided by a normal everyday high street bank. There's no real benefit in holding that in stable coins where I don't think the same regulation applies in terms of deposit guarantee, does it? I mean, you and I may not be the best people to be talking about this. This isn't our area of expertise.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we should ask someone who actually knows about those things.
If one of our listeners out there happens to be an expert on stablecoins, we'd love to pick your brains on a future episode, because this is something where 12 months ago, if Rick had said to me, I need to know all about stable coins, I would have gone, yeah, those things on the side. Whereas now this is something that's becoming part of our
Everywhere.
everyday conversations. And I've got this feeling that I might need to start using them to be able, that's my best way of learning is.
I'll
exactly
ask
using
my chilly friend.
your
Is
chatty friend.
there a deposit
Guarantee for
Guarantee.
stable coins.
For stablecoins? I mean, there's no hallucination. No, there is no deposit guarantee for stablecoins, at least not in the way it exists for bank deposits. So yeah.
So if it's not hallucinating, that would be
And
something.
it's a 1-versus-1 backing. So in terms of an investment, it doesn't make much sense either. It's only for cross-currency exchange in the future, maybe programmable money and things like that. A bit like a prepaid card in the past, but yeah. So all in all, I think when you look at crypto, yes, potentially if you believe in the investment opportunity, but for stable coins, I absolutely don't see it. There's more to get hold of the profits you make with crypto, etc. Their stablecoin may be useful again, but then you talk about currency conversion.
It's on-ramps and off-ramps. And that's basically what it was. And that, again, was when you asked Tristan, is this the future? He was very cautious.
Yeah.
But saying it's just more infrastructure. It's
And
just
I
more
think
capability.
that shouldn't be a surprise because with every conversation we had with ClearBank, they were very clear. They want to offer the best payments experience there is. And that can be in a traditional way as well as in a more future looking way and everything in between. They want to make sure that they are there with the best possible payment solution. In that context, I completely understand the developments that are going on right now, not as a way to replace what they have, but to make sure that they can fulfill to the expectations of their customers,
And I
all of
think
their customers.
that was something that his conversation was very much grounded in reality. It's not hype. They're not doing this because it's a fad. They're doing it now because now is the right time for them to integrate this as part of their infrastructure and to offer their customers
Yeah.
an option.
And if it takes off, they want to be there.
Yeah, yeah. So as you
And
said,
also bear in mind, Andrew, their biggest clients are UK. If they want to exchange with continental Europe, for example, you potentially already have those advantages of working with stablecoins instead of traditional infrastructure for the sake of transparency, for the sake of cost savings, etc. So I think there is a very valid business case without going too progressively in all the developments that are currently going on when it comes to stablecoins. So for them, I think so for them, there's clearly a business case.
And that's very true as well when you say their biggest clients are in the UK and the UK's biggest trading bloc is Europe. So therefore, it makes sense that the biggest pain point faced in that inter-company exchange is going to be what is now a cross-border payment but wasn't before some stupid people decided to vote otherwise and pull the UK out of Europe. But I won't get into a political conversation now at the moment. But that has now become cross-border conversation. So on that point, when you were saying that ClearBank will win by being an essential part of the ecosystem, I think that is the core message that came out very clearly out of your conversation with Tristan, is that it's not hype. They're not doing it because it's a fad. They're doing it because this is now offering choice and options.
They're doing it because it matters. It matters to them. It doesn't matter to every bank. Not right now. It may in the future, but I don't think it ever will to any bank unless those stablecoins completely replace traditional layers. But for them, I think it does make sense. And it's not just because it's a thing, it's because it makes sense to them. And they want to be an integral part of the ecosystem. Absolutely. That resonates also very well with the message that they want to make sure that they can keep building on existing more traditional rails as well as the ones that may be a big differentiator in the future. They just want to be there wherever their clients are and with the connections their clients actually need. And it remains a payments bank, a clearing bank in the UK, a concept that doesn't exist in continental Europe, but they are building something similar with a slightly different banking license in continental Europe, making sure they can also fulfill the expectations from their customers here.
I think another aspect that I'm looking forward to at our flagship event on May the 28th is asking some questions of Swift about their new blockchain-based ledger that on the 31st of March, there was a press release saying that they're going to be going live with transactions within this year.
Really?
According to their announcement on Finextra. And I'm going to be curious to see Why? Because this was something that we heard at Cybos. We heard a lot of hype about it at Cybos. Didn't hear anything after that, and then, or didn't hear much. And now suddenly we've got
That's
this.
often a very good sign. It means they're working on it.
Yeah, and I want to know what pain points are they going to be solving with their blockchain-based ledger, and are they
Compared
solving
to GPI, which they launched a couple of years ago as well.
and whether or not it's complementary or a competitor to what ClearBank is now offering. That's what because I don't understand it. It is a perfectly innocent question coming from a position of, I don't know. And I would love somebody from Swift also to be ready to come and talk to us about their
We'll have a
blockchain.
speaker from Swift. We'll also have Central Bank of Belgium to come and talk about stablecoins. So it's quite a few conversations that will take place linking to the discussion that we just had.
I'm going to bring my notebook ready and charged up. And write notes on it. And on that note, we'll speak again soon. Cheers.
Bye-bye.